Hey YouTube, this video is gonna be pretty quick. I'm just in this video I'm gonna be responding to the disinformation that I see all the time that's out there that's against HP Blavatsky. I do think it's deliberate. If you There's tons of authors and spiritual teachers that have come that have taught man natural law. Blavatsky is a teacher of natural law if you read HP Blavatsky. But the reason I'm gonna show you in this video that I think Blavatsky is given such a hard time, and so much disinformation is thrown against Blavatsky is because she exposed the Jesuit order very ferociously, actually. Yeah, and I'm going to read to you some passages. I have Isis Unveiled right here. This was published in 1877. Yeah, I'm going to read to you from H.P. Blavatsky published an entire article on the topic of the Jesuits titled Theosophy or Jesuitism in 1887. I'm going to read to you some quotes from that. I'm going to link them all in the description so you can read it. And I'm going to show you that I'm going to show you more proof. I've already done videos on my channel, but I'm going to show you proof that Adolf Hitler and the Nazis were a product of the Catholic Church. Okay, and that a common disinformation, a really common disinformation I see all the time out there are people that are saying that the Nazis use theosophy as their ideology. It's a joke. Okay, like there's been so many books on the topic. That the Jesuit order created Nazi Germany. Hitler was born into a Catholic family. Heinrich Himmler was trained by Jesuits. Joseph Goebbels was Roman Catholic. Knight, what's the guy's name? Uh, uh, Reinhard Gehlen. Yeah, Reinhard Gehlen, Knight of Malta, was the head of the Nazi uh, intelligence service on the Eastern Front. Reinhard Gehlen was a Knight of Malta, and Reinhard Gehlen was in collusion. Actually, Reinhard, if you look into it, Reinhard Gehlen was one of the founders of Mossad. Okay, Knight of Malta, part of Hitler's intelligence network. Also, the disinfo agents don't tell you that it was a Knight of Malta, Franz von Papen, who is a member of the German Centrum Party that signed the Reich Concordat with Pope Pius XII in 1933. Okay, so I'm going to show you the facts of what Blavatsky said, and you're going to see that it makes no sense that she's being called a Nazi supporter, and it, you see it all over. I was watching like a video of Jordan Maxwell actually this morning, and in the video, Jordan Maxwell was saying that the Nazis were using theosophy as their ideology. It just makes no sense. Okay, so here, where was the page? Okay, here you go. So this is page 352, Isis Unveiled, right here. Okay, this is what Blavatsky said. Okay. But consistency is a virtue which we fear losing under Jesuit influence. The slight hold it may ever had on the church, the crafty, learned, conscienceless, terrible soul of Jesuitism within the body of Romanism is slowly but surely possessing itself of the whole prestige and spiritual power that clings to it. For the better exemplification of our theme, it will be necessary to contrast the moral principles of the ancient Taoism and Theurgists with those professed by the modern Jesuits who practically controlled Romanism today, and are the hidden enemy that the would-be reformers must encounter and overcome. Listen to this, guys. Like she's full out exposing the Jesuit order. Okay, the same Jesuit order that factually created Nazi Germany. And I'm gonna show you guys. Actually, I'm gonna show you right here. This is in a book written by Sylvia Cranston, page 607. This is in the archive right here. This is what the Jesuit trained Reichsfuhrer Heinrich Himmler did, guys. This is what he did. He banned all theosophy lodges from Germany. So you see here, by virtue of Article or Paragraph 1 of the Decree of the Reich President for the Protection of People and State, here's the date, February 28th, 1933. 1933 is the year that Germany signed the Reich Concordat with the Vatican. Also the same year in America that the Emergency Banking Act was passed. Big year for the Jesuits. We see here, I dissolve the following named similar to Freemason lodge organizations as far as they have not dissolved themselves before August 17th, 1935. Page 8, Theosophical Societies. So guys, so the nine Theosophy societies in Germany, guys, were banned under Heinrich Himmler. Continuation of founding these as well as the founding of camouflage organizations will under a threat of order be forbidden. At the same time, I confirm by virtue of the law July 7th, 1933, concerning the confiscation of the wealth of the people of those hostile to the state, and that the wealth of the above designated organizations were used or intended for the dispatched to kill the efforts or to endeavor the aspiration of those hostile to the state, representing the signed Heydrich signature employee of the chancellery. Look at this, guys. And guys, this is the same German government, guys. They just here's proof that they were banning the theosophy societies. In Edmund Paris's book, actually, right, I'm gonna show you I have the quote memorized here, but on page 137 of this book, there's a free PDF out there. You can get it. Okay. It's documented that Adolf Hitler's book Mein Kampf was written by a Jesuit priest named Bernard Stample. Okay. In Edmund Paris's book, The Vatican Against Europe, it is exposed that a Vatican intelligence officer, Walter Schellenberg, said in an intelligence briefing that Heinrich Himmler modeled the Nazi SS off of the Jesuit order. Okay. I'm going to go back to Blavatsky right here. Okay. I'm going to read to you some of this article. But this is what Blavatsky is saying here. Okay. This is back on ISIS Unveiled. Okay. Quote from page 352. Throughout the whole of antiquity, where in what land can we find anything like this order, being the Jesuits, or anything even approaching it? We owe a place to the Jesuits in this chapter on secret societies for more than any other, that they are a secret body and they have a far closer connection with actual masonry in France and Germany at least. I'm going to show you guys proof. HP Blavatsky in this book exposes that the Jesuits wrote the degrees of Scottish Rite Freemasonry at the Claremont College in France. I'm going to show you evidence for that in this video. Okay, so you go. The cry of an outraged public of morality was raised against the Jesuits from its very birth. Barely 15 years had elapsed since the papal bull approving its constitution was promulgated, when its members began to be driven away from one place to another. Portugal and the Low Countries got rid of them in 1578, France in 1594, Venice in 1606, Naples in 1622. The Jesuits were banned from St. Petersburg in 1815 and from all of Russia in 1820. It was a promising child from its very teens. What it grew up to be, everyone knows well. The Jesuits have done more moral harm in this world than all the fiendish armies of the mythical Satan. Listen to this. This is very important and this is powerful because this is all natural law consciousness. Okay, guys. The Jesuits have gotten consciousness to be suppressed because they have to think that they control the mainstream media, they control the governments, they control the banks. And what's the control system doing? It's suppressing consciousness from rising. Okay, and that's how the world's truly going to change. It's the old famous saying, if you want the world to change, you have to change yourself. Okay, that's how natural law and consciousness works. The amount of freedom that's in society is a correlation to the morality level of the people in the society. And we live in a corporate legal fiction society. So once the people realize that we are in a fiction, that's a big part of it. Um, you realize you're in a fiction. There's no legitimacy to this system. Okay, you get your morals up and you do the right thing, and that's how things are going to change. But I'm going to repeat. Okay. The Jesuits have done more moral harm in this world than all the fiendish armies of the mythical Satan. That's page 352 of Isis Unveiled. Okay. Continuing. Whatever extravagance may be involved in this remark will disappear when our readers in America, who know little of them, are made acquainted with their principles and rules as they may appear in the various works written by the Jesuits themselves. We beg to leave to remind the public that every one of the statements which follow in quotation marks are extracted from authenticated manuscripts or follows printed by this distinguished body. Many are copied from the large quarto published by the authority and verified and collated by the commissioners of the French Parliament. These statements therein were collected and presented to the King in order that the arrest du Parlement, the 5th of March, 1776, expressed it. Quote, the elder son of the church might be made aware of the perversity of this doctrine, a doctrine authorizing theft, lying, perjury, impurity, every passion and crime, teaching homicide, parricide, and regicide, overthrowing religion in order to substitute for its superstition by favoring sorcery, blasphemy, irreligion, and idolatry. Let us then examine the ideas on magic by the Jesuit writers. Okay, here's a quote. Blavatsky is quoting from a Jesuit writer, Anthony Escobar. He says, quote, it is lawful to make use of the science acquired through the assistance of the devil, provided the preservation and use of that knowledge do not depend upon the devil, for the knowledge is good on it itself, and the sin by which it was acquired has gone by. Hence, why not a Jesuit cheat the devil as well as he cheats every layman? Next quote: astrologers and soothsayers are either bound or are not bound to restore the reward for their divination, and the event does not come to pass. I own, quotes, remarks the good Father Escobar, that the former opinion does not at all please me, because when the astrologer or diviner has exerted the diligence in the diabolic art which is essential to his purpose, he has fulfilled his duty wherever it may be the result, and the physician is not bound to restore his fee if his patient should die. So neither is the astrologer bound to restore his charge, except where he has used no effort or was ignorant in his diabolic art, because when he used his endeavors he has not deceived. Okay, continuing, this is page 354 of Isis Unveiled. Further, we find the following on astrology, quote: if anyone affirms through conjecture founded upon the influence of the stars in the character disposition of man, then he will be a soldier, an ecclesiastic, or a bishop. This divination may be devoid of all sin, because the stars and the disposition of the man have the power of inclining the human will to a certain lot or rank, but not of constraining it. So basically, he said in that quote, like, only the priest can practice astrology. Continuing, Besbaum and Lacroix in Theologia Moralis say, quote, palmistry may be considered lawful. It is from the lines and divisions of the hands can ascertain the disposition of the body and conjecture with the probability, the propensities, and affection of the soul. This noble fraternity, with many preachers, have late so vehemently denied ever to been a secret one, has sufficiently proved as such. Their constitutions were translated into Latin by the Jesuit Palmskis, and were printed in the College of the Society of Rome in 1558. Quote, they were jealously kept secret, the greater part of the Jesuits themselves knowing only extracts of them. They were never produced to the light until 1761, when they were published by the order of the French Parliament in 1761. In 1762, in the famous professor Father Lafayette, the degrees of the order are the novices, the lay brothers, the scholastics, the spiritual coadjutors, and the professed of the three vows, and the professed of the five vows. There is also a secret class only known to the general and a faithful Jesuits, which perhaps more than any other contributed to the dreaded and mysterious power of the order, says Niccoloni. And that's in Niccoloni's book, The History of the Jesuits. The Jesuits reckoned among the greatest achievements of their order that Loyola supported by a special memorial to the Pope a petition for the reorganization of that abominable and abhorred instrument of wholesale butchery, the infamous tribunal of the Inquisition. This order of the Jesuits is now all powerful in Rome. They have been reinstalled in the Congregation of Extraordinary Ecclesiastical Affairs in the Department of the Secretary of State and in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So you guys just hear HP Blavatsky is full on. There's more in this book, which this is why I think there's so much disinformation out there on HP Blavatsky, and there's so much connecting her to Nazism. Okay, it's just like how you see a lot of, because if you look into it, the Jesuits assassinated Abraham Lincoln. Okay, um, I'll link I have a good essay on it saved. I don't know the author's name, but the author quotes a lot out of Charles Chinneky's book. Okay, but the Jesuits killed Abraham Lincoln. All the 10 conspirators in the crime of killing Lincoln were Roman Catholic. John Wilkes Booth was in the Catholic Secret Society, the Knights of the Golden Circle. And what do you see right now, guys? You see all this talk in the press by all these Catholics, like Judge Napolitano on Fox News, and I've seen it a bunch of places. Like a bunch of fake truthers are pushing this, that Abraham Lincoln was a tyrant. Okay, just like how they're pushing now, like HP Blavatsky is a Nazi. Okay, the people that speak out against him in the past, they patronize in their controlled media. Okay, but so in just going here to some of the outlines of the theosophical movements, you see here that it's ridiculous to equate it with Nazism. The Theosophy Society is about forming a universal brotherhood of humanity without distinction of race, creed, sex, caste, or color. The second is to promote the study of Aryan and other Eastern literatures. Again, guys, Hitler's concept of the blonde-haired, blue-eyed Aryan has no concept and no relation to reality of what the real Aryan people are. Okay, they come out of Hindu. Oh, my caps are on. Okay, this is where the Aryan people come from. Okay, like it was a set part of the earth that existed. This is how like the Zoroastrian ideologies came in mixed later on, a couple thousand years later, out of this area. You see here that Arianism is centered around the book here, the Rig Veda. So you guys, this is Hinduism. There's nothing to do with Hitler's blonde-haired, blue eyes nonsense. Okay, he was under religious. He was under subordination to the Jesuits, and if you understand the Jesuit how extreme their religious indoctrination is, like they treat, it's written in R.W. Thompson's book, The Footprints of the Jesuits, but like the Jesuits view their superior as God. Okay, it's written in the constitutions that the Jesuits are to see in their superior general Jesus Christ on earth, the vicar. He's the true vicar. Okay, but continuing. The third object of the Theosophical Society, pursued by a portion of only the members of the society, is to investigate unexplained laws of nature and the physical powers of man. Okay, this is quoted out of HP Blavatsky's book, The Key to Theosophy. Okay, again, it's all about the theme of unity. Okay, is universal brotherhood what the Nazis were doing? Universal brotherhood of living in high consciousness and high awareness, following the laws of nature? Of course not. It was a Jesuit positive law tyrannical prison. That's what Nazi Germany was. Okay. See, this is what H.P. Blavatsky says. She wants the full recognition of equal rights and privileges for all. Oh, very Hitler-like. Oh, and without a distinction of race, color, social passion, or birth. When there is a inquire, when do you consider such a do not given? When there is the slightest invasion of another's right. This is natural law 101. Be that other man or a nation, when there is any failure to show him the same justice, kindness, or consideration or mercy which we desire for ourselves. The whole present system of politics is built on the oblivion of such rights and the most fierce assertion of national selfishness. Okay, so like, where's this devil worshiper coming from? Okay, and like, if you study, like, people say like, oh, she named her magazine Lucifer. You have to be like, Jesus Christ is referred to as Lucifer. Okay, in Revelation 16:22, 22:16. Okay, I recommend reading this article here. Again, guys, it was actually the Christian scholastics that equated Jesus with Lucifer. Okay. So in Isaiah 14:12, Lucifer is referred to as the son of the morning. In Revelation 22:16, Jesus is referred to as the son of the morning. But Lucifer is referred to in Isaiah as the son of the morning. Jesus in 22:16. It's all principles. It's all about natural law and consciousness, raising your consciousness, coming into tune with your body's magnetic field. Okay, the seven seals, the seven chakras, the 12 disciples. You can look at it like the 12 zodiacal signs on you interpret it astrotheologically. You can interpret the uh, 12 disciples as the 12 cranial nerves in your brain, that the cranial nerves are responsible for all of your sensory perceptions in the physical world. Okay, so here's the going down here. So again, this guy's like, what I read to you above sound anything like Nazism? Okay, H.P. Blavatsky wrote in page 2233 of the Key to Theosophy that, quote, universal unity and causation, human solidarity, the law of karma, reincarnation are the four links of the golden chain which would bind humanity into one family and one universal brotherhood. Okay, like, oh, like, how Nazism is that? Like, how extremist? How much does that? How much does that resemble this? Like, just remember what I told you. How much does what I told you resemble this Jesuit oath? You've been taught a duty as a spy to gather all statistics and information from every source, to integrate yourself into the confidence of the circle of Protestants and heretics at every caste. Okay, look at this. Look at this. I promise I will make relentless war, secretly or openly. So you see here, you want to create a universal brotherhood in consciousness versus the Jesuit dialect of raging relentless war. Okay, can't make this shit up, guys. So here, guys, the Blavatsky, when you read her working, she connects all of the ancient metaphysical philosophies together into religions, because at the core of the esoteric religion is natural law and consciousness and the laws of the universe, and of the microcosm and the macrocosm. It's called Aryan because the beginning of its civilizations were in the ancient land known as Arya-Varta, known as today as India. Okay, so that's where, so Hitler's swastika has nothing to do, and Hitler's swastika symbol in itself is a perversion of. Actually, I'll pull up the article here. Oh yeah. Gonna show you from Ms. Blavatsky's words herself. You see that the Nazis perverted the esoteric symbol of the swastika. They turned it, they inverted it. There's the swastika right there. Okay, here going down here. Also, this Master KH said, this one of the, he has a quote saying, Master KH says that the Jesuits are the insatiable monster that feeds on the brain of all of humanity. Does that sound like a, does that sound like Blavatsky's a shill and the people she affiliates with are shills? Doesn't to me. And here, the swastika. So it's rightly said by HP Blavatsky, the swastika is the quote, the most sacred mystical symbol in India. So you see here, guys, how the Nazis perverted the Aryan, they're perverting Indian mysticism because it's all teaching the unfoldment of consciousness and the body. Like this is the science of the Ida, the Pingala, the Sushumna, and the spinal, the Kundalini rising up the spinal canal, filtering through all the glandular systems in the body. Okay, the swastika is a pure spiritual symbol which can be found on the historical remains and records of almost every nation, originating initially in India, the ancient mother of our modern civilization. It was also an important and much cherished symbol of the early Christians, who called it the crux dissimiluta, and often accompanied it with the inscription Vitalis Vitala, life of life. They used the swastika for centuries long ago before the crucifix form of the cross was ever invented. Must be repeatedly emphasized that the swastika was never thought of in any way of being an evil or a dark symbol until Hitler misappropriated it as a symbol of Nazism. Tragically, the symbol of the swastika continues to strike fear and horror into the hearts of many due to their not knowing its true spiritual origins. And that's why, guys, that I see so many shows attacking Blavatsky because they don't want true spiritual awareness going. They don't want people that they don't want the mass consciousness to have spiritual awareness. So obviously, any teacher that's teaching the real spiritual teaching, the esoteric mysteries, are going to be ostracized at every corner you see it. Okay, it's not just Blavatsky. I see like people attacking Manly P. Hall. It's the exact same thing. Okay, tragically, okay, so despite the modern negative connotations, Hindus, Jains, and Buddhists all over the world retain their right to this use of the swastika as a spiritual symbol. Okay, and I showed you here, Hitler misinterpreted Aryans as meaning a perfect race of blonde-haired, blue-eyed people. Okay, and again, the literal Sanskrit, the word swastika in Sanskrit means all is well. Okay, the swastika also represents the continual motion and revolution of the invisible forces of the universe and the cycles of time, represented by the four arms of the cross being bent at the right angles to signify motion and rotation. Third, the seal of the heart, or the heart seal of Buddhism. This is what the swastika represents. It can be seen engraved on the chest of the Buddha and many statues of him around the world. And the swastika also represents Boha, or cosmic electricity. There's a quote from the Secret Doctrine. Applied to the microcosm, man that shows him to be a link between heaven and earth, the right hand being raised at the end of a horizontal arm, the left pointing to the earth. It is at one and the same time an alchemical, cosmological, anthropological, and magical sign, with seven keys to its inner meaning. It is not too much to say that the compound symbolism of this universal and most suggestive of the signs contains the key to the seven great mysteries of the cosmos. It is the Alpha and the Omega. Alpha is the first Greek vowel, Omega the seventh vowel, of universal creative force evolving from pure spirit and ending in gross matter. It is also the key to the cycle of science, divine and human, and he who comprehends its full meaning is forever liberated from the toils of Mayayama, the great illusion and deceiver. So this ancient is the symbol, and so sacred that there is hardly an excavation made on the sites of old cities without its being found. As you see here, Adolf Hitler completely perverted the meaning of this esoteric symbol. Okay, and here's a quick. I'm gonna read from, this is from Lay Lehman's book Behind the Dictators, chapter 5, Hitler and the Catholic Church. So it's completely erroneous to say that the Nazis were motivated by theosophy. I showed you here in this quote from Sylvia Cranston's work, HPB, like a biography on Blavatsky, page 654. Okay, right here. Here's a translation of a document issued by Heinrich Himmler, the Jesuit-trained puppet himself. Okay, or Jesuit-trained warlock. He was more than a puppet. But you see here, Germany banned theosophical lodges in 1933. Okay. Here, back to Lee Lehman's book. Hitler is a product of the Catholic Church. He has never renounced the religious doctrines nor condemned the political aims and aspirations of the Church into which he was born and baptized. Just as his father was regarded the Catholic priesthood as the highest state to which any one could aspire. See, what a piece of work. Okay, continuing though. So to him as a child, the priest appeared as the ideal human being. In his autobiography, Hitler says that he was deeply impressed with the religious ceremonies of the Catholic Church and was a member of the choir in his parish church. In his free time, Hitler took singing lessons at a nearby monastery. This, he says, supplied me with the best opportunity to step myself in the solemn magnificence of the brilliant feast of the church. This is a quote. That was a quote from Hitler, what I just highlighted right here. These early emotions were never completely dispersed, and he has always remained conscious of the extremely suggestive value of the ecclesiastical surroundings. Toward the end of his book, he describes, quote, the psychological conditions which tend to create the artificial, mysterious half-light in the Catholic churches, the wax tapers and the incense. In fact, in his Mein Kampf, and he has Mein Kampf, and I said this earlier, but in Edmund Paris's book, The Secret History of the Jesuits, page 137, he exposes that Mein Kampf was written by Bernard Stampfel. Okay, and that's what and that when you understand how like when Mein Kampf was essentially was an anti-Semitic book, when you understand the history of the Jesuits creating the anti-Semitic movement, it all begins to make sense. Okay, and when you study Rome's history of ostracizing the Jews in the past, and the key to this though, guys, is that there is a select few of the court Jews, Hof Jews, the high-level uh, Israeli Masonic Jewish uh, Zionists. Okay, they're subordinate to the papacy though. Okay, there's no way you cannot prove that the Jesuit order and the papacy and the kings of Europe are subordinate to the Israeli Freemasons. But there's a tiny percentage of Jews, okay, who work for the Pope. But just like the rest of us guys, the 95% of the Jews are registered with a surname, okay, which means they're a debtor to the system and they're tax debt slaves to the church. Okay, we're all in the same boat here. I'm a debtor too. I have a last name as well. Okay, but continuing in Mein Kampf, Hitler approves of everything, particularly relating to Jesuit Catholicism, because guys, like I said, Bernard Stampfel wrote the book, as opposed to Protestantism. Hitler approves of the why can't I read right now? Indisputability of the Catholic dogmas, and in the intolerant attitude of the Catholic education, of the necessity of blind faith, and the personal infallibility of the Pope imposed upon the Church by the Jesuits in Germany in 1870, and of the compulsory celibacy of the Catholic clergy. These are the matters that make Catholicism radically different from the other churches of Christendom. In an open and prophetic expression of his admiration for the Catholic Church, Hitler says, quote, "But the Catholic Church is more secure than ever. It can be predicted that as passing phenomena vanish away, she will remain as a beacon light in these vanishing elements, attracting blind adherents in ever increasing numbers." This is a source from Mein Kampf. Okay, like really, it's right here, guys. That's Hitler's words. Like he was subordinate to the Jesuits and the Catholic Church. He wasn't a practicing theosophist. Okay, HP Blavatsky wasn't plotting World War II. Okay, it was Pope Pius XII and Vladimir Lidachowski. She wasn't plotting World War One either. She wasn't plotting the Boer War when she was alive. It was actually Cecil Rhodes, the Jesuit coadjutor, a high level 33-degree Freemason, was plotting the Boer War. But continuing though. This enthusiastic declaration of the Führer is not only an expression of the prophetic sense generally attributed to him, but the manifestation of a desire firmly rooted in his soul. Like all Catholics of Central Europe, Hitler was educated to resist Protestantism, the historical enemy which has always endeavored to detach government and peoples from the political and religious influence of the Church of Rome. Throughout his book Mein Kampf, he has no word of disapproval for the Jesuit campaign against all forms of Protestantism. It is true that in places he states that both Protestantism and Catholicism as religious units are of equal worth, so far as his National Socialism is concerned, but an analysis of those particular statements regarding the two religious systems immediately shows how closely he is bound to ultramundane Catholicism. In the matter of racism and anti-Semitism, Hitler clearly indicates his hostility to Protestantism. He says, quote, Protestantism opposes in an extremely vigorous manner every attempt that is made to rid the nations of its worst enemy. In fact, the position of Protestantism with regard to Judaism is more or less dogmatically fixed. But we have now come to a point where this problem will have to be solved. Otherwise, all attempts of the Renaissance of Germany and national regeneration would be of no avail. It is true that Protestantism can never associate itself with Jesuit racism. The protest to Hitler by the German Confessional Church in 1936 makes this clear. Quote, Anti-Semitism, it states, often provokes excess of nothing that nothing can justify, and which are merely the result of hatred for the Jewish minority. The identity of Hitler's ideology with that of traditional Jesuit Catholicism cannot be denied. Also, guys, when I was talking about the Hofjudens a few minutes ago, important to note, probably the most powerful Hofjuden in history was Mayor Amschel Bauer. And guys, the Rothschilds originally the family name was Bauer, and they changed the name to Rothschild because in German Rothschild is red shield. But Mayor Rothschild, you can see the photo of him with his Knight of Malta Maltese cross on, showing that he is subordinate to the papacy. We continue. The identity of Hitler's ideology with that of traditional Jesuit Catholicism cannot be denied, nor the fact that by ruthless persecution and armed might in collaboration with other Catholic dictators, Hitler favored the ultimate objectives of the Catholic Church. Hitler, Mussolini, Franco, and Salazar, the Catholic dictator of Portugal. Franco was in Spain, Mussolini in Italy. Ousted Jewish, Masonic, and Protestant influence from all of Europe. And I showed you guys in Germany, in Sylvia Cranston's book, uh, right here. Okay, the Jesuits outlawed theosophical lodges in Germany. Okay, Hitler was not a theosophist. They were throwing theosophists in the extermination camps. Okay, just like they were throwing everyone in the extermination camps. It's a fascist society. The Jesuits are fascists. Okay. Continuing though. In spite of this, however, many in America are still skeptical of predetermined connection between the Nazi fascism and the Jesuit Catholicism. The point of the persecution of the Catholic Church in Germany into professions of faith and democracy by some Catholic spokesmen in the United States. There is here a case of obvious contradiction between the reality and appearance. In the first place, Nazi opposition to the Catholic Church in Germany has been confined to its, quote, liberal elements, and Catholic leadership has always opposed these more than any others. The Jesuit party has long feared the infiltration of Protestant and liberal ideas into the German Catholic mind. And guys, what HP Blavatsky is promoting, like ultimate liberal ideas. She's promoting the enlightenment of mankind. I think the Jesuits are about enlightenment, and Pope Pius IX syllabus of 1864, he condemns eternally freedom of thought and free speech. Okay. Continuing, they formed the backbone of the Catholic Center Party, you guys led by Franz von Papen, Knight of Malta, which was the last bulwark against Hitler's rise to power. But this last element of liberalism in Germany was dissolved by the order of Pope Pius IX as a stipulated condition of the Vatican Concordat, or Pope Pius X, 11th, my bad. With Vatican's concordat with Nazism, its leader Klausinger was assassinated in the blood purge of June 30th, 1934. The last liberal party in Italy, also headed by the exiled priest Don Sturo, shared the same fate at the hands of the same Pope Pius XI. So here they exterminated two of their big political enemies here in the 30s, Don Sturo and Klausinger. Okay. It is nothing new in Catholic history that religious and social reformers from within the church should be the first to suffer its enmity. Okay, and guys, this is nothing new. Okay, guys, study the Inquisitions going all the way back to Pope Innocent III and 1308. Pope Boniface VIII signed Unum Sanctum when he made a legal law, positive law claim on all the property of the earth and all the human beings on the earth, and that's why we're now under maritime admiralty law. Okay, the law of the commercial waters, and we're all regarded as vessels, aka straw men, men of no blood, artificial persons. Okay, continuing though. Okay, can be easy seeing that the identity of Jesuit political thought with the objective of the Nazi fascism makes it imperative to conceal it from the American public. Where it obviously I'm going to highlight this. This applies to the truth community also, guys. Like just as much so. Okay, that's why you see so much Jew bashing out there. You see so many people making videos on reptilian shapeshifters. Okay, you see all this crap about Planet Nibiru, the Palladians, the beings in the Hollow Earth that are controlling us through. There's tons of shit out there. It's all to distract us from the real enemy, the real power structure. And at the top of the power structure is the Vatican and the Jesuits. Okay, word otherwise, the Catholic Church would suffer a complete loss of its prestige in the United States, in the eyes of Catholics and non-Catholics alike. Okay. So you get the gist of it there. I linked this in the description so you can read. I'm just going to scroll down here so you can continue to read. Okay. Here's here, without the Jesuit well-planned direction, Adolf Hitler never could have accomplished what he did. Okay. I haven't read this book yet. Catholic Industrial. It's Fritz Thyssen. I'm sure you can find it out there. Wrote a book called "I Paid Hitler," and he exposed how the elite aristocratic class in Catholic in Germany funded Adolf Hitler. Okay. And here's an article from actually, yeah, here's HP Blavatsky. Okay, here's Theosophy and Jesuitism. So showing more here that guys, she's exposing the Jesuits. Okay, and this is why there's so much disinformation about here. It's to kill all the credibility that she has, so no one actually reads what she has to say. Yeah, this is what they do to anyone they're trying to discredit. Okay, but continuing. The Jesuits maintain that the Society of Jesus is not a human invention, but it proceeded from whose name it bears. For Jesus himself described that the rule of life which the society follows first by his name and afterwards by his words. Let then all, I'm going to zoom in here. Let then all pious Christians listen and acquaint themselves with this alleged, quote, rule of life and precepts of their God, exemplified by the Jesuits. In Peter Aglagma, St. Thomas Aquinas, Summa Theologica Compendium, he says, quote, by the command of God, it is lawful to kill an innocent person, to steal or to commit, because he is the Lord of life and the death of all things, and it is due to him thus to fulfill his command. It is lawful to kill and steal from an innocent person or to commit, what does it say here? Commit ex mandano di licit innocitorum in Latin. But see here, guys, it's you're lawful to kill an innocent person, and this is hand in hand with the Jesuit oath in this source here. Okay. Next quote here: a man of a religious order who for a short time lays aside his habit for a sinful purpose is free from heinous sin and does not incur the penalty of excommunication. Listen to this blasphemy. Okay, John Baptist Tabanera propounds the following question: is a judge bound to restore the bribe which he has received for a passing sentence? Answer: if he has received the bribe for passing an unjust sentence, it is probable that he may keep it. This opinion is maintained and defended by 58 defended doctors, aka Jesuits. Okay. And here, this is what Blavatsky has to say, and this is why she's ultimately so ostracized. What are we to think of the future of society if it is controlled in a word and deed by this villainous body, aka the Jesuits? What are we to expect from a public which knowing of the existence of the above mentioned charges, that they are not exaggerated but pertain to historical facts, still tolerates when it does not reverence the Jesuits on meeting them? While it is ever ready to point a finger to contempt at theosophists and occultists. Theosophy is persecuted with unmerited slander and ridicule at the instigation of these same Jesuits, and many are those who hardly dare to confess their belief in the philosophy of arhatship. And actually, I did videos on this earlier, but after HP Blavatsky died, there were many charlatans who infiltrated the Theosophical Society and ultimately like discredited it. And this was Alice Bailey in particular, and the Jesuit agent I think was C.W. Leadbeater. He erected a liberal Catholic Theosophic Church in 1918. Okay, and Alice Bailey created the Lucius Trust. All this was done though after H.P. Blavatsky died, and after Blavatsky died, all this rhetoric, all this I'm showing you about the Jesuits, there is no more talk of the Jesuits from all theosophical writers. Okay. And so this is Blavatsky quote. I'm going to show you quickly because I'm running on here. I'm going to show you how Blavatsky exposes the Scottish Rite Freemasonry connection. But here's under section 15 of the principles of the Jesuits, we find on homicide the following Christian principles inoculated by Father Henry Henriquez. In Summa Theological Morales, Thomas, Volume 1, quote, if an adulterer, even though he should be an ecclesiastic, reflecting upon the danger, has entered the house of an adulteress, and being attacked by her husband, kills his aggressor in the necessary defense of his life or limbs, he is not considered irregular. If a father were obnoxious to the state, being in banishment, and society at large, and there were no other means of averting such an inquiry, then I should approve the opinion of the aforesaid authors for a son to kill his father. Okay, it says section 15 on parricide and homicide. Okay, so like this is the attitude that HP Blavatsky has against the Jesuits. Okay, guys, and actually I'm going to show you here quickly on in the book. I'm going to go back to screen share. Okay, where's the page? I'm gonna put this link in the show notes too. Okay, I took the excerpt of like 12 pages out of ISIS Unveiled, and I made a Reddit blog post on it. Where is the? Oh, I just lost the page. Sorry guys, bear with me for a second. Here. So this one quote here, you see Blavatsky writes on page 373. However, the convenient for a certain political reasons for the celebrated committee of the Anti-Masonic Convention of 1830 in the United States of America may have found it to adopt this most Jesuitical proposition of Punendorf that, quote, oaths oblige not when they are absurd and impertinent, and that which teaches that, quote, an oath obliges not if God does not accept it. Continuing, and actually, if you study, I have previous videos, the Jesuits, it was a Catholic priest, Ernest Junin, that coined the term Judeo-Masonic. And the Jesuits, through their Civica Catholica magazine, with known Jesuit priests like Victor Kolb, Father Coughlin in the United States, that they were promoting fear porn. I'm gonna pull it up on the computer here, guys, just because I can't. Where's my screen? Okay, Jesuits, Knights. I'm gonna show you one more source after I show you this, and I'll wrap up. I have to go into my Reddit feed. They're censoring it. Doesn't surprise me. Good. Bear with me, guys. Also, if you haven't seen my, I upload on this Rome Rules Reddit post page. I have user Ainso777. There's interesting posts that I've made. They're worth checking out. Okay. There's like, if you guys want to study the connections between the Hofjudens and like the Vatican, this is a good article here. Pope Eugenius IV and the Jewish money lending in Florence. I have it's a scholarly article done by a university. I have the link or the journal link down below. Here we go. Jesuit connection, the Knights Templar. I'm just going to show you quickly that Blavatsky was writing about this in ISIS Unveiled. Okay. See here. HP Blavatsky, ISIS Unveiled, page 381. As to the modern Knights Templar and those Masonic lodges which now claim a direct descent from the ancient Templars, their persecution by the Church was a farce from the beginning. They have not, nor have they ever had any secrets dangerous to the Church. Guys, the Church, you have to think about Alexandria Library, for instance. The Vatican has been hoarding esoteric knowledge for thousands of years from all the heretic classes, like the Albigenses, for example. They would go in, they would burn all their houses down and take all their books, and then the Inquisition was on. A lot of them would be tortured and sent to the stake. Continuing though, quite the contrary, for we find yeah, so guys, they had no secrets dangerous to the church. For we find J J.G. Findle saying that the Scottish degrees of the Templar system only dates to 1735, and quote, following its Catholic tendency, took up the residence of the Jesuit College of Claremont in Paris, and hence was called the Claremont system. This present Swedish system also has something on the Templar element, but is free from Jesuits. Okay, but free from Jesuit and interference with politics. Okay, we see here Templars. All of these versions supported by history were fabricated in the High Claremont, the High Chapter of Claremont, which is the Jesuits, and preserved by the Parisian Templars as a legacy left for them by those political revolutionists, the Stewards, and the Jesuits. Okay, so like this is Blavatsky exposes this in the book, and I'm gonna link this in the show notes too. She writes about the connections between the Knights Templars, the Knights of Malta, the Order of St. John Jerusalem, the Jesuits, and just kind of the dissemination of the knowledge that the mystery schools possessed. And she talks about how the Masonry is being perverted. A lot of Mason lodges now are praying to like a personal god, just like the Jesuit doctrine and the churches. Okay. So yeah, check that out. Okay, and this is proven in here. This is a Scott Rach Masonry Illustrated. Complete Ritual, Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite, profusely illustrated by Jonathan Blanchard, published in 1888. Here this is a philosophical analysis of the 23rd degree. It is in these two following degrees that we are taken back to the Old Testament, where Ramsey, Jesuits, and Jews, these are the high-level court Jews, were at home in the stupendous realities and truth of God from the right, from competent and disgust, even though we're used as Simon the sorcerer wished to use the Holy Ghost for gain. But you see here, he's saying that the 23rd degree, actually I'll show you this book, you should check it out because there's actual pictures in it. These here is like the closing ceremonies of this Masonic degree here. This is the whole Scottish Rite Freemasonry rituals. Okay, right here. Here they're doing their worship here to the 7 planets. Here's some pictures. They give like the passwords, the tokens, the hand signs. Okay, but you see here, you type in Jesuit in the search bar and a bunch comes up. Okay. I'm just gonna go down and show you this. Yeah, here again, saying here that Ramsey and his Jesuits framed the 32nd. Actually, so here's a quote from Folger's Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite Masonry, page 338. Okay. Um, you see here Ramsey and his Jesuit, Morin and his Jews and their abettors who framed this 33rd degree rite for money and its worldly advantage, a high Masonic authority says. Quote, if history speaks, recently Morin and his coadjutors founded the manufacturing of Masonic degrees and the sale of Masonic dignities, a very profitable and lucrative undertaking. They pursued it diligently, making all the money they could from the traffic. Okay, guys, this is all about making money. This is the god of this world is mammon. The god of this world is money. Okay, so which shouldn't surprise us. Like Freemasonry, they have lodges all over the world. The Jesuits have connections all over the world through the universities. It's a whole interconnected network. Okay, you have to think they could, if you understand how the comprehensive annual financial report system works. Okay, like there's trillions of dollars in the system that the public has no idea about, and only in the know people who know the legal system know it's there. Okay, and these guys are living it up. They got money in bank accounts all across the world. They have properties all over the world. Okay, while there's mass starvation going on, and 70% of the world has under $10,000 to their name. If you see here, get the Scottish Rite manufactured by Jesuits, been remodeled and sold by court Jews. Continuing down here, see the 28th degree, the Night of the Sun. See more, guys, the apostate Ramsey following Jesuits and Jews, given us the Templar Masonry of today. I'm just going to go down here to the 32nd degree because you'll see here, this is the most blatant up here. Actually, I see here the 30. And actually, it's written like if you read these degrees, a lot of these degrees are attributed to Frederick the Great in Prussia, who took the Jesuits in. after they were banned from Prussia in like 1740. Voltaire actually wrote that Frederick the Great could have been known as like the superior general of the Jesuits. Okay, like it's well known that Frederick the Great and the Jesuits were on mutual terms together, and they named a whole bunch of shit in the Scottish Rite Masonry system after Frederick the Great, because the Jesuits wrote these degrees at the Claremont College, the first 25 at the Claremont College, and the last 8 in Prussia with Frederick the Great. Yeah. Actually, here is the um. Here, this is the motto of the Jesuits. This is what I want to show you. Okay. Oh, I apologize. Okay. So this is the motto here. This is the motto of the 32nd degree in Freemasonry, guys. Is ad majorem Dei gloriam. And this is the motto of the Jesuit order. Okay. And in their system, it stands stationed at the night of the sun of the commanders of the temple and the princes of mercy at the 28th, 27th, and 26th degrees. Okay, this is the motto here. This is the motto of 32nd degree Freemasonry. Also, it's the motto of the Jesuits. Okay, you cannot make this shit up, guys. So this is what I want to show you. Blavatsky was onto this. So check out this whole book. Okay, she was onto the Jesuits, wrote the Scottish system. Okay. She was exposing their disgusting, immoral principles. Okay, she was teaching natural law. She was teaching higher consciousness. She was teaching the esoteric sciences. She was teaching comparative religion. Okay, and that's why she's slandered everywhere she goes. Okay, there's so much disinformation. I proved to you, uh, the Theosophical Society was outlawed by Nazi Germany, by Reichsfuhrer Jesuit coadjutor Himmler. I read to you how Hitler was completely intimate with the Catholic Church. Just one book you can read on it is Hitler's Pope, relationship between Pope Pius XII and Hitler. Okay, we see Hitler's ideology was Jesuit ideology. Mein Kampf was written by Jesuit priest Bernard Stampfel. Knight of Malta Franz von Papen said that Germany was the first country in history to adopt the principles of the Roman Catholic Church. Okay, Catholic Archbishop Stepniak said God gave us Adolf Hitler, and like pronouncing Hitler as a saint. Okay, it shouldn't surprise you though, Saint Ignatius Loyola, the most satanic of them all, is worshipped by these guys. Okay. I just want to show you that all this Blavatsky hate is misguided, and it's just the energy could be spent on actually investigating the truth instead of spreading your energy hating on theosophy when there's no reason for you to be hate on true, genuine theosophy. I don't like pseudo theosophy either. I don't adhere to any of the Alice Bailey New Age teachings, none of the Lead Beater New Age teachings, none of the Annie Besant New Age teachings. I hold a true esoteric science. Yeah, and Blavatsky was a teacher of natural law and esotericism. Okay. And this is what Blavatsky said too. He who does not practice altruism, he is not prepared to share his last morsel with the weaker or poorer than himself. He who neglects to help his brother man, whatever race or nation, or whatever suffering, and who turns a deaf ear to the cry of human misery is no theosophist. Okay. Complete opposite of Adolf Hitler. Okay. And if I'm gonna link articles too. One guy, I think his name is Charles Stewart, has a post online calling HP Blavatsky a devil worshipper, and this website fully debunks this. Okay. All of his quotes of he says that Blavatsky says Satan is God. He misquotes them in all of Blavatsky's texts. And the one quote that he did excerpt, Blavatsky was quoting another author, and he it's pure propaganda and misleading. Blavatsky is quoting another author, and he says in his article that it's Blavatsky saying, and then he made up a bunch of lies of Blavatsky was a drug addict. Check out this article. Blavatsky was not a plagiarist. Okay, these are all ways to discredit her because they don't want people looking into the esoteric sciences. Okay, okay, I think that's all for this one, guys. Peace and love, and Nam Nas. Take care.